Welcome back to Gene and Roger Talk Movies. We're in an undisclosed location.
Yes, we had to move.
Yes, we did. So, Gene, I think we could call this like the movie dungeon or something like that at this point.
A dungeon just suffices.
Yeah.
Or maybe a bunker.
The movie bunker. Yes, perfect. That's the title of our new little spot. Hopefully, over the next coming weeks, it'll start looking more appropriate. You may hear some...
put up soundproofing tiles.
Some echoes.
Less
and
echoey.
Our chairs are creaky. So we've got to do some work.
It's the bunker.
It's the Halloween season, of course, and so we can't miss out on that. So even though we're in the middle of reconstructing our studio and all that, we still need to start getting these out because people are wondering what's a good horror movie to watch for Halloween.
Yeah, we missed last week.
Right, yeah.
You happened to be sick.
I was sick.
That's your fault.
And then the week before, it was chaos because we had no place to shoot anything. So
right.
We're talking about Oculus today. And
2014.
Yeah, and let's just get right into it and see how much Gene hates this one. Gene, where are you at with Oculus?
Oculus has a lot of moving parts. It's a movie that's got a lot going on, and I have to just tell you, I was very unsatisfied with the ending. However, the process, the whole movie, watching the movie, it's intriguing. It has great characters, so you want to know what happens to them. And so the movie the plot moves along fairly well. I mean, it's their over-the-top action. Like Karen Gillan was in Jumanji and Guardians of the Galaxy, Nebula and Martha. Those movies of over-the-top action. But this movie is definitely not that. But it's psychological horror. But this movie works. I didn't like the ending, but overall, this movie, it works. It's pretty good.
Well, but Gene, Karen Gillan was also in what?
She's been in a lot of things.
Doctor Who. She was Amy Pond.
Oh, that's right, Doctor Who.
Matt Smith's companion.
I'm not the big Doctor Who fan that you are. I have not seen that season. Actually, I've only seen one episode of Doctor Who in actually my entire life.
Oh my God. All right. Well,
there are these robot things, and they had these arms, and they were like shooting.
Well, that was most of Doctor Who, really.
And there were these like robots, and they were shooting at the robots. And, yeah, it was weird.
Was it Tom Baker? Was it like a long time?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It was color. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Okay. But no, Karen Gillan is in this early on in her career. Obviously, it does show a little bit because some of her line readings are not the best.
I'd say all the actors I think did well.
Yes.
I think they performed admirably.
But one of the beauties of this film, and if you don't know what it is, there's this haunted mirror, and
it has a name.
Yeah,
the lesser glass.
Yeah,
the lesser glass mirror.
And so
has a history.
When Karen Gillan was younger, this mirror was moved into her house. Her mom and dad had just moved into a new house, and they were kind of
just a suburban home.
Yeah,
blah.
There's a younger brother, and
Tim.
This stuff happens where the mirror is possessed by this dangerous entity.
There's an entity in the mirror, I think,
right,
that causes things to happen.
Yep. And so anyway,
like whoever looks at the mirror.
There was the end game here with when they were younger was the dad ends up killing the mother, getting killed by the younger brother, and then there's a lot of flash forwarding and flashing back because one of the beauties of this film in my mind is you don't know if what is real until about maybe 20 minutes in, because they set it up and then they set up the young brother who is now getting released from the mental hospital because he's fine now.
Right.
And there's a lot of internal struggle on his part because the sister, Karen Gillan, is still like, hey, I found the mirror. We've got to, we've got to
destroy this mirror. We have to enact vengeance because Kaylee knows that this mirror is killed her parents.
Right.
She knows, and she is accurate in this assessment. But Tim was blamed for everything, so he was put away, mental institution, but he killed the father in self-defense. And so, but Tim has received admirable therapy, and he's actually a really level-headed guy. And actually, Kaylee I was thinking we could rename this movie called Kaylee's Obsession. Because Kaylee is obsessed with getting vengeance on this mirror. She set up this elaborate plot. with these cameras all over the place and these tripwires. Well, not tripwires, but things that happen automatically, timers. And she sets up this big ship anchor to crash into the mirror in case these things happen.
Right, because one of the
but it never works. She doesn't know what she's up against. She's really naive, and she's obsessed. Which those two things combined is not going to have a positive outcome.
It's a Captain Ahab situation going
on. It's not going to end well for Kaylee.
But I do like how early on because Tim has been successful in therapy, and he does not believe any of that stuff.
No,
and so he's like,
not at all.
Everything could be explained. There's this great dialogue sequence where he's like, Kaylee is saying, "Oh, well, the mirror led to this death and this death. I've got all this historical stuff," and he's like going, "Well, remember when we got that couch and like Bill died or whatever? Yeah. Is the couch possessed?
Yeah,
was
they
it
get
the
into
couch,
this causation versus correlation argument, which I thought was pretty insightful. But I just felt for Tim, because Tim was just a great. He'd grown up. People had tried to help him, and he had come out in a positive place. Mm-hmm. Kaylee wants to rehash the past. If Kaylee had just kept wishing through this movie that Kaylee just let it go. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry the parents passed away. Tim's in a better place. Let it go. Let Tim live his life. You know, if you want to pursue this thing, then you do it, but don't drag your brother into it. But Kaylee, no. Kaylee's obsession with the new name of this movie. She drags Tim into it, but I like the movie that keeps going forward and back in time, forward in time, back in time. And you lose track of what's going on. It's like, what's really happening here? Yeah. You know, but ultimately the mirror is in charge. The mirror is calling the shots. And you just have to say, is that part of this reason why I like this movie, and this, again, I don't like the ending, but part of the reason I like this movie, it just has cool characters that I know from other movies that I really like. For example, young Kaylee is played by Annalise Basso, and she was the character named Vesper in one of my favorite movies of all time, named Captain Fantastic of Viggo Mortensen. I forget the year, but I love this movie, and she was in that, so I'm digging that. And then actually, the mom is Katie Sackhoff.
Of course.
It shows that I am really a nerd. I am super nerd, because she was Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica. So it's like she and then Vesper. They're just like there. I'm liking those people.
Well, and I am concerned that you just identified yourself as a nerd, but you've only seen one episode of Doctor Who ever. What's up, Gene?
It's British. Come on.
But I
saw an episode. I'm good.
You're good. I also though.
I take that back. I'll watch too.
Okay. One of the beauties, though, of this film that I really like, and you don't see very often, is the time displacement aspect of it, because I absolutely love when adult Tim is watching younger Tim go through the paces of what really happened back in the time. And there's some pretty cool sequences where Karen Gillan is walking up the stairs as her younger self walks down the stairs and things like that. So they really play well with this time displacement aspect and going back to 1994 or whatever time frame that was, and then the present, and it's all converging at the same time. It's
again, you just lose track as you're watching the movie. You lose track of where are they really at, like what's reality here. And sometimes it brings you back and it lets you say, oh, this is where we are. But then then it goes back into the shifting. Mm-hmm. So that's a really, I thought, intriguing and admirable aspect of this, that they pulled it off well. But I do have to say is that Kaylee definitely doesn't know what she's got into.
No.
Because at the very beginning, Kaylee and Tim are looking at this mirror, and Tim's just like, well, why don't I just smash it? Doesn't he pick up a baseball bat?
No, he's got a chair.
Yeah, a chair, and he's just going to just smash it, right? Why not? Just do that. But then all of a sudden, some things happen, and he starts talking about other things, and all of a sudden the chair's down, and then Kaylee notices that. It's like, hey, didn't you just put down the chair? You were going to wreck that mirror. And you could have done it, but now the chair's on the ground. So that mirror's in charge. Well, whatever entity is in there is in charge. And I'm kind of at the end is like, I think maybe I'm too involved in these characters. Karen Gillan, of course, Jumanji, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Doctor Who, Amy Pond.
Yeah, Doctor Who, yes. We know them. We like them. Gene and Roger, we tell everything what's going on, so I'm just going to tell it. So Kaylee dies, and the mirror is not destroyed. And the greatest tragedy of this whole movie is that then Tim is arrested again, and he's going to be incarcerated again for the murder of his sister. Mm-hmm. His fingerprints are all over the place. He's going to say, "Oh, the mirror did it." No one's going to believe him.
Well, and the film footage shows him pulling the lever to eject that thing onto her. Right,
because in his mind, she wasn't there, but she was there.
Right, no, he thought he was going to destroy the mirror.
It messes with the mirror, the entity in the mirror messes with what you see, so you can't trust what you see and hear.
Right.
Which I think in a way is maybe is a good element of horror, or is if you can't trust what your senses are telling you, that's pretty horrific.
Well, and one of the things I really like about this movie too is Tim's trajectory is explained right at the very beginning of the film.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the or the beginning sequence is basically what happened for real that night, but then it's got Tim pointing the gun at young Kaylee and then firing when really it was going to be the dad doing that. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then so it's almost like the mirror is creating this obsession in Kaylee really to get back at Tim somehow, because the mirror has captured Kaylee then at the end, but Tim now is going back to prison, just like he would, when he was hallucinating that he actually was the one who pulled the trigger. And he's like, hey, this is the first time I've done that. I've dreamt that. Well, because what had happened 20 minutes earlier, Kaylee had discovered that mirror and it was now up for auction. So the mirror was kind of back in the picture.
Yeah, it's Kaylee's fault that this mirror is even back in their life. It got out of their life, and they were at an auction house and she arranged to have it rebought. So, but she, again, it's her obsession. It's her idea. It's Kaylee's idea. And it's also, but ultimately, I mean, it's tragic. Kaylee's dead, but Tim is innocent. He is innocent
completely.
Both times.
Right.
And is going back to jail again, and is probably not getting out this time.
Well, and of course, the demonic entity is kind of playing it up because he sees that, yep, I've got your sister now, too.
Yeah, that's kind of some homage. This movie plays homage to the movie called The Others, Nicole Kidman, which we should review, by the way, sometime.
Well, we had talked about it at one point.
Yeah, but at the end of this movie, Tim is being led away by the police, but he looks into the house, and what does he see? He sees the bodies, or he sees his mother and his father and his sister, and their eyes are like glowing, which is kind of
it's mirror.
silly.
Their eyes are mirrors.
Yeah, what seems silly though, but it's just like they're in the window. It kind of reminded me of the movie. Yeah.
Well, Lake Mungo had that ending too, where the entity was still in the house, if you remember.
I don't remember that. Although I really like Lake Mungo, but I don't remember that part. But yeah, The Others, it made me think of The Others. Mm-hmm. So, overall, personally, I didn't like the movie. Well, personally, let me say it this way: I didn't like the ending, but I think maybe I'm too biased. I think the more objective Eugene would say that this movie's great. You should watch it.
As far as a horror film goes, it's
pretty good.
Exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah.
I also did like how they did the flashback sequence where they had the golf clubs and they were trying to break the mirror and they were just hitting off to the side of the wall as well.
Yeah, because the mirror was the mirror's in charge.
But I liked also because the mirror had been broken, but the only time it had been broken,
slightly cracked,
right, was when Tim shot his dad, and that's what caused that crack in the mirror.
Yeah.
And so I liked how it's really playing with, there is ways to do it, but maybe you have to sacrifice somebody in order to crack it or something, right?
Yeah, and the mirror alludes that it shows you the images of other people that it has managed to make it dead.
Yeah.
And so we see these people and they're dressed in Victorian clothes and all this stuff because it's a quite old mirror.
Well, and I also liked how Karen Gillan was trying to find the range of power and influence of the mirror because she had those plants set out because the mirror will feed off anything living, right?
Right. So the plants near it die.
Yeah, so they all die, and then as the mirror gets more souls or more life energy, whatever it is that it lives off of, it actually starts expanding its
reach.
Its reach. And so I really liked that. It is a PG-13 movie, so there's nothing too over the top.
We don't have to have slasher movies all the time, right?
And so what I'm getting at, though, is if you're looking for a horror film that is a good introduction to some of the themes and kind of some of the stuff that happens in a horror film, Oculus is certainly a good entry point, I would say.
No, it's a good movie in general.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be entertained, you know, it's 90 some minutes, I think, you know.
No,
just watch
it's 102 minutes long, so it does have, it's outside my sweet spot for sure.
Dear Lord, 102 minutes, who cares? It's a good movie, just watch it. Yeah, and I think I used Amazon Prime. I think I rented it, or no, it was Apple Plus.
Well, and I actually had to rent it because we were going to do this like 2 weeks ago, and then right now it's streaming for free on Paramount. So,
but you got to get Paramount.
Yeah, well, I have Paramount, but
that's another topic. Maybe we should talk about the streaming services. I mean, you can only do so much. If you get all the streaming services, then we're back to cable, right? So we don't want to do that. So I don't know.
Yeah,
do what you want.
No, I did pay for the year subscription to Criterion, however.
No, I like Criterion.
Yeah, so they've got some good stuff on there. But Gene, what are we going to do next week?
That's the question we always have, but we never have an answer.
Do you know what I watched just 2 nights ago?
No,
because it's streaming on the Peacock Network. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
You can watch that piece of garbage.
I did.
Yeah, I'm not watching
Here's
it.
what I will tell you.
And we're not going to review it.
Here's what I will tell you.
Maybe you can review it with Tyken.
Here's what I will tell you about it. It is definitely better than the first one. The special effects are definitely better.
No.
And the only mistake this movie really made...
I know there are a million of mistakes.
Was because Tigger's in it. And what they needed to do, and they didn't do, was they needed to have Tigger just doing line after line of coke, and they didn't. So
don't watch that.
No, it is. If you're
Blood and Honey, the whole thing is just a cash grab. Some British dudes doing a cash. Oh yeah.
Well, but they also terrible. Are doing.
No. I refuse to talk about that. I'm not talking.
They're doing Bambi the Reckoning, though.
No, we're not talking about it.
I definitely am going to see Bambi the Reckoning.
No,
because one of my most hated films of all time.
You just can't allow yourself to be exploited like that. You can't be a victim. People, we can't be a victim now. We have to take charge of our lives.
Well, and let's talk about that, because one of the reasons I absolutely hate Walt Disney's Bambi is
we are not getting into this.
What do parents do? They take their little 5-year-old to it, and then what does that 5-year-old get exposed
Bambi,
to?
Yes, the
hey, your mom's going to get killed.
The mom gets died,
and when your mom's dead,
dies,
your dad's going to come up and say, well, you're on your own. What kind of message is that for a 5-year-old? And so I'm really glad that in this Bambi the Reckoning, I'm hoping Bambi's mom gets killed and Bambi just goes on a bloodbath vengeance. But anyway, so
let's move on.
What do we want to do next week?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's Halloween, so we should do some kind of Halloween thing.
Well, that movie, The Substance, is out at the theater right now, and a lot of people are talking about that thing. Demi Moore is in it, of all people.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take a look at that. Definitely something else will happen next week. Hopefully you'll see some progress on our little new studio here.
Our dungeon.
Won't be our bunker.
Lights will be shining right now.
The movie bunker. So thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.